Hi, and welcome to The Green Room. This is episode 4, and today we're talking about supporting menstrual health in the workplace. My name is Tom, and I'm the Digital Marketing Manager here at Lyreco. And part of my responsibility is to make sure everyone at Lyreco and our customers is represented and supported through all of our communications. Today we are joined by 2 of our SSP suppliers. Would you both like to introduce yourselves?
Hello Tom and Anya, I'm Martha Silcott of Fab Little Bag, and I'm really excited to be here today. Thank you for the invite.
Hi, my name is Anya Kilkenny. I'm the co-founder of Riley. We provide 100% organic cotton period products, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here.
Perfect, it was great to have you both. So let's sort of just jump right into it, I suppose. So talk about menstrual health. There is still a bit of a taboo, I suppose, around menstrual health and menstrual hygiene in the workplace. Why do you think that's the case?
I think it starts early, at school, in that whole education mode. If you think about, I don't know what it was like for you at school being a boy, but certainly from the girls' perspective, you're kind of kept separate and the boys are kicked out, and then you're told like a tiny bit of information that's all very biological. And then that's it, and you're kind of left with this weird information that you don't quite know what to do with because it sounds so alien to you at that age. Yeah. For most girls, obviously some girls start, as young as 8 or 9 years old. But yeah, I think that sets the tone. And then it kind of gets progressively worse from there, because then it evolves into something that you have to hide, or you have to kind of keep to yourself or not discuss openly. And, before you know it, you're walking around the office with tampons up your sleeve and things like that. So I don't know if you want to add to that.
I completely agree. I think it starts with education. I'll never forget how I first learned about menstruation. Is my mum gave me a book and just basically closed the door and was like, good luck. So it comes back to education, how we speak about it, our language even. And I think as well, the other thing is that people just hear probably the negative effects of menstruating. I am uncomfortable, or I'm in pain, or, I'm struggling perhaps. And that all builds towards a negative connotation of what menstruation is. And the reality of it, it's a beautiful thing that the body does, and it's the most normal bodily function in the world, and half of the world menstruates. So really, there shouldn't be such a negative connotation towards it. It's a good thing.
Well, we all wouldn't be here without it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think coming back to your point around just sort of education, and early education in particular, I remember being in school, 10, 11, having sex education at school, and when it came to the part of the lesson, I suppose, where they talk about periods and they talk about women's health, the boys are out the room. Yeah. And it almost becomes like this secret thing for girls that boys shouldn't know and boys shouldn't talk about. And, looking back now as an adult, it's a very weird and secretive way to do things. And I don't think it breeds a healthy...
It's fundamentally terrible. Yeah. Because it also, the boys are going, well, what? Like, what are they talking about, And then they get whispers of things, and this is how kind of real deep misunderstandings of things. And you'll find that, a lot of the negativity and the mickey taking and the putting down comments that come from boys and men, and fully grown men, around this topic, often it's because they don't have the information, so it's a kind of mask of not knowing and not understanding. So you just put something down or take the mick instead, and that's why it's so important that education changes and it's inclusive, and it's not just this little tiny bit of periods that relates to biology. It's like the bigger picture. That's really important.
People are also scared of the unknown. So once they don't know what they're talking about, they kind of automatically are scared, and a lot of people, even if they do know about the biological function, maybe they're too scared to even say it, or they don't know how to communicate about it as well. So I think it all does come back to education, talking openly, and also using positive language around menstruation as well.
Absolutely. All the little nicknames. There's a whole, the Well HQ kind of started this campaign to call it what it is, because that whole kind of on the blob, on flow, the painters are in, all these weird terminologies that are used to kind of code word I'm on my period, I'm menstruating. It's just actually quite damaging to breaking down the taboo and normalizing a bodily function that is totally normal to have.
And again, by not using the sort of the language of what it is, having your period and menstruation, it still creates that sort of like taboo awkwardness around even saying those words, which again is just such a strange thing as a society that's where we've developed to, or that's where we've got to. So,
and it's for everyone. It's not just for people who menstruate, it's people who don't menstruate as well. It's like opening up that conversation for everyone, because as I said at the beginning, I didn't know enough about it myself, and I wasn't having those conversations at home or with my friends. And I think the last couple of years being able to open up that conversation has been so good, because also there's so little education, but there's also so little medical research on it as well. So being able to then, talk to your friends and other people who menstruate and say, like, I'm experiencing this. Is this something you've ever experienced? And they're like, oh yeah, me too. Like, that's also something. So it's not just, it's people who actually menstruate that are also living in the shame, and they're scared and they're worried about their bodies. And then, so opening up the conversation and bringing everyone in is so important, and how we're all going to move forward and how we're all going to be more comfortable as well.
Yeah, I mean, that comes out really clearly in our work with sports, in Fab Little Bag and our work in sports, because obviously there's a lot of male coaches, and so we have to break down that whole taboo really a lot in that space. But then I made the early wrong assumption that just because you were a female coach, you were comfortable talking about it. That's so not the case. There were plenty of women who, because of their lack of education, here's a book, shut the door, whatever. My
mum's going to kill me for saying that.
I know, sorry, Mum. Sorry, Mum. But it's very common to have that approach in that generation.
Exactly.
And because of all of that, they're also not comfortable. Just because you're female doesn't mean you're down with chatting in a relaxed way about periods. And that comes across in the language we use as well.
Yeah.
So do you think sort of like almost this taboo that it does just transcend generations? It goes back, I don't know, 50 or 100 years, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, sort of looking at today then, in terms of, obviously we have moved forward as a society, and there's been a lot of positive cultural changes, but this still isn't, it's still on its journey, but it's not where I think everyone would like it to be in terms of not being this taboo, awkward subject for no reason. What do you think sort of like the main drivers of that today are for it still being taboo? Do you think it's something like in pop culture, for example? I look at movies and TV shows, particularly from, I'm only 28, we're going back like 20 years or so. And the if periods or menstruation was ever shown in the TV show or in the movie, it would always be shown as being like this awkward situation, or if there's been leak onto the clothes or anything like that, it'd always be shown as this embarrassing situation and everyone should laugh and blah blah blah, whatever else. Like, I think that's played a real negative part in where we are today, and that's been a driver as to why it's still this awkward conversation to have,
But even like in advertising, when they're showing period products and they're using blue liquid as like representation for blood, and like I remember again when I got my period and I was like, why isn't it blue? Like why, it's so confusing for what's actually going on.
And that's only changed in the last 18 months, 2 years, whenever the ads, I think in some ways the ads are have been even more contributory factor to the taboo around it, because they were in our face for so many years with the blue liquid and the white, jumpsuits, kind of rollerblading down the kind of promenade, just so contrasting to how the majority of women feel on their period. So all that kind of ad imagery around it, which was so opposite to people's experiences, weirdly, definitely a negative kind of contributory factor.
That's so interesting, because I would have never even considered potentially even how that would affect you guys as women, in terms of the imagery used, or even the colour blue for representing blood. I never would have even considered that.
It sounds so stupid, but you're so young, so like you just don't understand.
You
don't question it because it's like anything. When you see it on the TV, you're like, that must be true, and then it's not, and it causes so much confusion.
Yeah, and also the other really weird thing just to highlight that particular point, is if we look at television and films and stuff, I mean, how much do they show blood generally? There's people getting their head blown off, there's injuries, there's this, that and the other happening in 15 and under films or whatever. But the minute the blood is menstrual blood, it's like, oh my God, that's disgusting, like stop showing that. And it's so strange how that is so ingrained that we treat this one bit of blood from one area of the female body as completely different from blood from any other part of the body.
Yeah. We were on a national radio station a couple of years ago in Ireland, and we were talking about our journey and our company and what we do and period products. And we weren't particularly talking about the menstrual cycle. We were just saying, this is our business and this is what we do. And the radio station got so many complaints that they read them out live on air the next day. And we were...
Just because you were actually talking about
period products. Or about we were actually talking about our journey as entrepreneurs, and like, because myself, my co-founder started our business, and we were talking about just running and owning a business, and this is what our business did, and this is, the story behind it and our mission. And they got so many complaints that they read them out the next day on,
Good for them.
which is amazing. And the presenter
was it
is incredible.
generational complaints?
So this was the interesting thing. So it was on at 3 p.m. in the afternoon on our national radio.
Right.
So, we don't know who was listening to that at that time, but the amount of complaints they got, they read out many of them. My favourite was, what are we going to talk... Periods are a private event and should be kept as such.
Wow.
And then my second favourite was, what are we going to talk about on the radio next? Feces.
Wow.
And
there's a
to compare it. Yeah.
So that's a leap and a half, isn't it?
Yeah. And the presenter was like, I'm reading these out to support this business and to support open conversation and to break down the stigma, which is like obviously the right thing to do. And we were delighted that he did read them out. But there is still a lot there and we don't know who was making those complaints.
But it wasn't just one or two people. That's the point, right?
Yeah.
There was quite an outpouring, which is, sad and worrying. By the way, I do think periods are private. They are a private thing. But there's a massive difference between something being private and feeling shame. Massive difference.
Yeah.
And, some people might want to strut down the office and be, woohoo, just off to change my tampon. That's not most people. But there's a big difference between just picking up a tampon or a pad and going to the toilet because that's what you're going to do, than hiding it everywhere and pretending it's not happening.
Yeah,
and I think that's where we need to, that's the kind of canvas that we need to kind of bring together and make it normal. Because if it's normal, then you don't have to take these extra steps to try and hide things.
Yeah.
But how do we do that then? How do we sort of break down this stigma, this taboo, and how do we normalise having these conversations?
Talking. Talking. Even if you just go home tonight and say to whoever's there, oh, this is what I did today at work. I was speaking to these two women who have got these two different businesses focused on period products and making kind of environments more welcoming for women. Then you've spoken about periods to someone maybe
that's
last
a step
week,
in the right direction.
Last week, and it'll be very interesting to see how what their reaction is. Like, oh mate, I don't know how you do that. That's really awkward. Yeah. Well, it wasn't actually, because this, that, and the other. And then maybe that's a taboo broken between you and that person. And talking is by far the most impactful, I think.
Definitely,
but the language as well, even all the signs that you see in the cubicles. The reason why they don't make any impact about how you dispose of these items is because they're too vague. They just say, please do not put sanitary items down the toilet. Well, say it. Do not put tampons and pads down the toilet. They're not, they're not sanitary items.
Yeah.
They are period products called tampons and pads. Say it. And then people will really understand. Because in that particular example, just going off on the disposal thing for a second, sanitary, the word in this context relates to sanitary pads. So people who use tampons will see that and think, doesn't apply to tampons, I'm fine to flush those. And then you get the problem.
Yeah.
So we need to be more explicit in our language.
Yeah, not be afraid to use the term, not be afraid to use the
correct
words.
terminology.
Exactly,
And I think more correct terminology and more casual conversations involving men in this discussion, crucial. And obviously it comes back down to education, like we both first said.
Yeah, I agree with you, particularly on conversation. We partner and have partnered with over 350 corporate clients at the moment, and we put our products into their bathrooms, and we often would come into the office environment to do a talk on it.
Yeah.
We talk a lot around, you know, the products, the difference in our 100% organic cotton products versus mainstream products, but a lot is just opening up that conversation in an environment that they have never had that conversation before. And we do ask that it is supported by, let's say, like a managing director or a CEO, you know, someone in the because it is top-down leadership as well, you know, in a lot of places. So they really will echo what a managing director is saying as well and supporting. So some of the feedback that we've gotten from one of our clients, a really big client, said to us, it's not just about having the products in the bathrooms, although that is very convenient. It's about opening up the conversation in the workplace and having the respect for absolutely everyone in the room.
Yeah.
And I think that was a really, really important way to put it and a really nice way to put it as well. And we can see that in the talks that we give. We always ask after, you know, was there any feedback?
Yeah.
And the cultural shifts that happen just by having someone and a third party come in, you know, to have that conversation and to ask questions. And it really does make a huge difference. So the power of the conversation is huge.
Yeah, you spoke there a lot about work as well, and how corporate, well, any business, not just corporate business, how any business can help and support and create that culture. And, you know, we have a culture here of bring your whole self to work. So we absolutely believe in all of this and bringing your whole self to work. How can other businesses, how can other companies help start this conversation, help drive sort of like this improvement in the workplace culture and make people feel more comfortable and feel that they can bring their whole self to work? How do businesses go about doing that?
Well, they can invite Anya and I in.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a good team.
There we go.
We can solve literally all their problems.
Yeah, there we go.
Job done. But seriously, you know, you just need to do that combination of things. One, provide the education in the workplace, and break down those barriers and taboos about talking about it and recognizing that half of the office population are going through this. I feel like some of that can happen internally, and it's quite important for it to be backed up internally, as well as having third parties come in as experts to provide that information. And then actually providing the products inside the toilets is a very easy, inexpensive, clear way to demonstrate we've got your back. Because being caught short at work is no joke. It's awful. It happened to me in corporate land before all this happened. You're about to go into a really important meeting to do a really big presentation in front of a client, and suddenly you're like, oh, and it's 3 days early. Your focus is elsewhere, and suddenly you haven't got anything, and there's nothing in the toilets. What literally are you going to do? You end up having to put, loo roll in your underwear and pray to the gods that this isn't going to go really, really wrong. Yeah. And do you think your presentation is like bang on? No, it's not, because you're worrying over here about all the things that are potentially going on. So that's just a kind of, I was going to say it's an extreme example. It's not an extreme example, but it's kind of one example. But there's just having the products there if you need them. Yeah. It's not to, from the corporate perspective, it's not to supply every woman with all their product needs, throughout their whole period. It's there for emergencies and as a backup.
It's a basic necessity, isn't it? It's like you mentioned that it's the same as loo roll, it's the same as hand towel, it's the same as soap.
We don't expect men to walk into their office with their own little toilet roll in case they need that to use that day. It's there and it's free. Yeah. So we're just evening it up by bringing in, that's there to deal with bodily functions. Tampons and pads are there to deal with bodily functions. So it's just evening it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And 79% of people have been forced to use toilet paper as a makeshift pad. So
Yeah, wow.
on that point, it happens all the time. 90% of people have run out of products or when they needed them, or not had products when they needed them. Like, as you said, it can happen at any time. And the confidence knock that you get,
Yeah.
and, you know, it's happened to myself as well. And like, you're just so, like, you do feel incredibly, like,
Distracted and worried.
Yeah, exactly. So to have the products in the bathroom is such a small thing to do with a massive impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, say 79%
Yeah.
of people. That's an incredible stat in itself. And if that doesn't drive home the message in terms of having these products available, having these solutions available, then I don't know what does.
But we don't talk about it because it's awkward.
Yeah.
Am I going to go to my male manager and say, by the way, I just had to put loo roll in my underwear to get through that meeting.
Yeah.
Do you mind if you maybe think about getting... No, that's not going to happen. That's not a conversation. It just gets sucked up and like we deal with it, and some other person deals with it the next day.
And that's we try and as well work with people when a lot of people would come to us and say, you know, this isn't actually in my remit, but can I please have some more information? And they may be perhaps on a women's network, they may be on a green sustainability committee, they may be on, you know, it might not be necessarily part of their day job. And we try and like help them through that conversation, perhaps with like a male line manager who maybe wouldn't have experienced this before, so wouldn't really know about it. And we try and put up a lot of stuff both on our LinkedIn and on our website as well to kind of help navigate that conversation because it can be quite tricky.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, speaking for myself, obviously, a male, and I have colleagues who are you know, menstruate and have periods and that kind of thing. So what can I do more, you know, personally speaking, what can I do to help support them more? Spoke about the conversations and being, you know, open and that kind of thing. Is there anything else that I could do personally to help support those around me?
I mean, I think making it known that you are aware of and open to talking about that, if it comes up in a conversation, you don't run away or shy away from contributing to that. That kind of relaxed openness around the topic is really a really positive thing that you can do as a male in that environment. Even just, you know, oh, my sister, you know, she had a nightmare the other day. You know, you can introduce the topic in this non-awkward way, in a normal way, and then it kind of sets the tone, and people will know that you're a kind of period-friendly person, rather than someone that they could, you know, they'd never dream of kind of saying, oh my God, I really need, you know, do you know where I can find this or this, that and the other, so.
I think even you sitting here today and having this conversation with us is excellent. And being visible to have this conversation as well, I think is brilliant as well. I'll never forget in one of my first jobs, I used to really suffer with my period, I still do, and I had to leave work early. And he was like, you know, he was really direct. He was like, what's wrong with you? You're grand. And I was like, no, I have a really bad migraine. And he was like, oh, okay. I had to pick something that he couldn't see that was like wrong with me.
Relate to.
You know, yeah, exactly. So, like, and I'll never forget it. And I think being able to support when people aren't feeling well, or even to just make sure that they can be comfortable. You know, if someone came to you and said, like, can I work from home? Or, you know, like, to be able to, like, kind of to try and make them as comfortable as possible, I suppose, if they are going through, like, a couple of days that they're really, like, not feeling their best.
No, I think that's perfect. I think that's some really good advice there for myself and for anyone who's listening to this. You mentioned there about when you had your period one time, migraines and that kind of thing. I suppose that's another thing that people don't necessarily consider either. It's not just necessarily the physical of the blood element and then tampons and pads. It's also, you know, it has other effects on your bodies as well, and it can affect your mood. It can affect lots of different, you know, down to your skin even. You know, and I think again, that's something that isn't appreciated or isn't considered in many ways.
It's incredibly personal though. Like, my periods, they didn't bother me in any shape, way or form. It was like breezy until I hit 40. And then it was like, what excuse me, what? You know, it was then every single negativity that you can apply to periods suddenly happened. And I feel like you can't kind of just say, oh, a period is X, because I've had friends who are literally bedridden for 5 days. They cannot move. And endometriosis is now starting to be more understood, but it still takes about 7 years to get a diagnosis for endo. And so we go back to, I think you mentioned research and the lack of it. You know, it's a very, very significant problem, is that women's health is underfunded and under-researched. So there's still lots to learn. And too many women suffer in silence about, we think that period pain, that's probably the one thing that everyone kind of knows about periods, they're painful. What does pain, you know, my pain threshold might be on the floor compared to yours. So what is pain anyway? And then you've got so many women suffering with pain that isn't normal at all. Your periods should not be so painful you can't function. That's a problem. And you need to go and get medical help for that. So that's another thing I think employers can really help, is setting out what is acceptable and what's not acceptable health-wise for somebody, so that if they are suffering unduly, they've got their employer's support to go and get help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of places we see that we're working with at the moment to help them to introduce menstrual policies in work as well, to include perhaps in their employee handbook, things like that. And I agree with you. And I think, again, I feel like coming back to education, but our cycles and our hormones are so different to our male counterparts. And like, so your hormonal cycle is 24 hours. Ours, on average, is 28 days. So our rise and fall in our hormones is just completely different to yours. And again, it's about understanding that. And for me personally, I had never tracked my cycle until I started this business 4.5 years ago. And I really now understand myself and like what is going on in my own body during that time. And I'll know exactly when during my cycle that I'm going to be really active, when I'm going to have a lot of energy, when I can jam pack my schedule, when I can come here and do this podcast or this recording, you know, when I'm going to have all those really like good hormones that give me all that energy. But on the flip side with that, it's about having that care to say, you know, I actually know, because there's a big psychological thing that involves in this as well, right? Because your hormones are fluctuating and you're not feeling 100%, but you're looking around you and saying, but everyone else is, and everyone else is, you know, going at 120%. Why can't I? And then this other element of shame comes in to be like, what's wrong with you? Like, why can't you, why can't you perform at this top speed? And actually, when you realize where you are on that 28-day cycle, you're like, oh, okay, of course I can't operate like that this week. Like, I just do not have the capacity to be able to do that. And that's just a normal, like, hormonal change that's going on in my body. So again, it's important to understand that aspect, both for like myself and I know like for other people on a like scientific and biological level, to understand how the hormones work as well. I think is really interesting for me.
And you mentioned there about the different apps and different technologies. So there are those things out there that people who have periods can they can use that and it can help, and it will be a benefit to them. Okay, that's really cool. Yeah. Something obviously I don't necessarily have to. It's not a world that I go into. It's not something that I need to know about myself, so I wouldn't necessarily know that. But you know, that's really cool, and particularly for people out there who would like to learn more about themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And like I've never felt so empowered since I've done it, since I've tracked my cycle and know really like where, like on average, what my hormones are doing throughout the month. And the other thing is you can get apps as well that you can share with other people, which is really cool. Because it's a really important thing that's happening in your body. So it's actually really important to share with the maybe 1 or 2 people in your life that you need to share it with.
Oh wow, that's really cool. So Martha, tell me a little bit more about Fab Little Bag.
Well, Fab Little Bag is a sustainably sourced disposal bag for tampons and pads, because we want to encourage all those people that flush their period products down the toilet, which is about 40% of women, to stop doing that. Because when you flush things down the toilet that aren't pee-poo and paper, they end up polluting the sewers, and the sewers are designed to overflow into the rivers to help control flooding. So they end up polluting the rivers and then the oceans, because that's where the rivers end up, with period products. And tampons and pads, most brands of those contains high levels of plastic. So it's a direct plastic pollution situation we're trying to avoid and help companies who are unwittingly and unknowingly contributing to that problem to help them to stop them being part of that problem. And the other really important thing for Fab is that actually all of the binners, which is the majority of women, but we will all have scenarios where actually binning has proved problematic or traumatic because bins don't always function. The lids don't always open, or they do and someone else's used pad is greeting you and it's just really horrible and disgusting, or there's no bin. Particularly women who are working off-site, out and about, they often don't have any facilities to help deal with disposal.
And do you find that a lot in public spaces?
Absolutely.
Public toilets, yeah. Wow.
I mean, most public toilets, they're meant to have a bin, but sometimes they're full, overflowing and pretty grim. So we're there I can show you how it works.
Absolutely.
These are the dispensers that your customers will have in their cubicles next to the toilet roll holder. And you can see the messaging here. It's giving you the education, because it's really important that flushers tend to not know that they're doing anything wrong, because when they started their period as a young person, they were told by their mother, sister, friend, whatever, oh, it's fine, just flush it down the toilet. And because of the taboo that we spoke of earlier, like they never question that again, and it never really comes up. So instead, you just pull out a fab little bag like this, and then you would open it with the patented finger loops, put your tampon, roll up your pad, put that in, and then you just pull off the strip and then push the bag together, and it's completely sealed.
Oh, yeah.
So then you have an opaque sealed package to put into the bin. And obviously, because it's sealed, it's going to keep the bin clean and odour-free, and you're going to fit a lot more period products in the bin, because you're not wrapping up the item in reams and reams of toilet roll for no good reason and putting it in the bin either. So it's just a game changer of experience of being a binner, and then obviously converting those flushers to being binners as well.
But it sounds like the perfect solution.
Oh, thank you. One thing I'd add, because it's really important, we get asked this question a lot, are they biodegradable? And they're not biodegradable. They are not biodegradable for a really good reason, because what goes into these bags, i.e. most brands of tampons and pads, are not biodegradable or compostable. And more importantly, what happens to period waste products is that 90% of the time they are incinerated. So there's 0 point in this being biodegradable if it's just going to be burned. And then sometimes they do end up in landfill, but landfill is an anaerobic condition, no heat, no light, no oxygen. So nothing is biodegrading in landfill. So rather than focus on the biodegradability of this when it's pointless, we focus very much on what is it made of. What is the impact on the planet of this existing?
Yeah, which is so incredibly important, isn't it?
Much more important and much more kind of relevant, if you like, sustainability-wise. So they're made from 60% sugarcane, 30% recycled material, 10% renewable cornstarch, and the glue is vegan that seals them. So they're as sustainable as possible, and I hope in years to come they'll be made from seaweed, which will then bring us full circle. I'm trying to keep the pollution out of the ocean, and then to be made from the ocean just feels a dream come true. So,
wow, that sounds like an incredible product.
Thank you.
Anya, can you tell me a little bit more about Riley and what you guys are up to?
Yeah, absolutely. Riley is an Irish female-founded business. We provide 100% organic cotton period products that are better for our bodies and better for our planet. We started our business out of our own personal frustrations. We were looking for period products that were 100% organic cotton and something that would be delivered to our door as well. That was something that we were looking for. And when we searched on the market, we couldn't find anything that really suited our lifestyle and also that had those sustainability credentials that we were looking for. And we decided we had to get to work and start our own business. So over 4 years ago, we started Riley. We provide our products in two ways. One way on our direct-to-consumer site, where you can sign up to a subscription that will be delivered to your door every 3 months. And then the second part of our business, and why we're here today with Lyreco, we provide our products and partner with clients to be able to put our products into their bathrooms for their staff and for their customers as well. So currently we have over 350 corporate clients, the likes of Google, Amazon, KPMG, but also we partner with everyone from small gyms, bars, restaurants, right up to enterprise-sized clients, because we fundamentally believe that period products are a basic human need and that they should be readily available in every single bathroom that you walk into and to be treated the exact same way as toilet paper. So we are on a mission to make that happen.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more in terms of, being readily available in bathrooms, whether it be at work or in a school or in public places. So no, that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you. Can you just tell me a little bit more about what the actual products are made from?
Yeah, absolutely. So we wanted something that would have the same look and feel as mainstream period products that we were used to using. And when I talk about mainstream products, I talk about products that you might buy off the shelf in your local Boots or your local Waitrose. But the makeup of our products is very different. Our tampons are made from 100% organic cotton. Our applicators are made from sugarcane, and our packaging is all made from wood pulp as well. So the makeup of our products are very different to mainstream products, where mainstream products can often, the average pad can contain up to 90% plastic, and they also can be washed with chlorine bleach. Our products are all 100% organic cotton. We are a B Corp certified company as well. And we also are independently audited by the Global Organic Textile Standards as well. So the quality of our products are really, really important to us. And we also have a rating of excellent on Trustpilot, which is an independent reviews platform. And that's something that's really important to us because we are obsessed with product quality. We want to make sure that the best products that we can or we're giving the best products on the market. And it's products that we use ourselves. So we want to make sure that they are of the highest quality. So we have a wide range of products, but obviously our best sellers are regular applicators and regular pads.
Okay, that's perfect. It certainly seems like Riley products definitely hit the mark in terms of being good for people, but also helping to reduce sort of their impact on the planet as well, which is awesome. Is exactly what we strive to do at Lyreco as well. Martin, can you tell me a little bit more about Fab Little Bag's mission outside of the product, so your engagement with the community and how you're supporting in that way?
Absolutely. So obviously we kind of have lots of small kind of charitable type donations that we make, which is actually usually my call because I get a lot of requests and things like that come through just the website and stuff, and we can't help everybody. So we make our own kind of decisions about how we manage that. But what we've really focused on in the last 18 months to 2 years is I set up the period supportive movement, which came out of the work in sport. So I think it was late 2022, a lot of research came out from Sport England and others about how there is an exodus of teenage girls in sport. And whilst there are a plethora of reasons why this happens, because teenage years are quite complex and challenging for many reasons, actually periods consistently came out as a contributory factor in this exodus. And I got really cross reading the report that this was such a big deal. And after I calmed down, I kind of figured out, actually, I can't solve all the problems as to why girls are leaving, but this bit around periods, I can solve that problem. So I created the coach's bag, which is a bag full of tampons and pads and Fab Little bags for responsible disposal. And those are for the coaches to have. So my dream is that every single coach, no matter what sport, they have their coach's bag. Think of it like a first aid bag for periods. And that then instantly takes away that horrible scenario where you're a 14-year-old girl, you're loving your football and you're rocking up to training and you're about to kick off and you just get that feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm about to come on. Like, I'm early, I haven't got anything. And you look at your coach, Gary, 35-year-old Gary, and you're like, oh, I'm not going. What am I going to do? Yeah. But Gary now, with his Fab Little Bag coach's bag, which he announced to everybody, sits over there on the pitch side. You just walk over there, help yourself to what you need, sort yourself out, play on. Mm. So it's game changing, but it's so simple and easy. But it's so much more than a bag full of product. It's a statement. It's saying, we know you have periods. We've got your back if you ever need them. It also addresses the issue of period poverty, where girls and women can't afford to comfortably buy their own products. Mm. So just being there, they can help themselves to what they need with no judgment and still feel very welcomed and included in their sporting environment with their club. So it's something that's so simple, but we're so proud of what we've managed to achieve. We've got loads of national bodies, from cricket to hockey to judo to football, all supporting Fab Little Bag's period supportive movement and giving their coaches their Fab Little Bags. So it's been a really heartwarming, kind of feel-good aspect of the business that's grown in the last kind of 18 months. The feedback you get from the girls and the feedback you get from coaches of both sexes in terms of how much easier it's made their life dealing with something that previously felt really awkward or they just simply didn't think about. So yeah, we're really proud of that.
Yeah, that's incredible. You spoke there about girls of a certain age dropping out of sport because of this kind of thing. I was not aware of any of that at all. And I'm sure many people, listening to this and watching this wouldn't be aware of that either. So I didn't realise it was such a big phenomenon.
64% leave before the age of 17.
Wow. Yeah.
And, as I say, it's not every single one to do with that, but it's a massive contributor.
It's a big driver.
It's significant.
Wow,
yeah.
okay. It's great that you guys are taking steps to help alleviate that, and hopefully we'll see more girls in sport and progress through sport through teenage years. It'd be really awesome.
So, because sport is so important for everybody for obvious reasons, but it's particularly important for girls, I think, because during those teenage years especially, there's so much going on. And, you can fall out with your friends at school, but then you have your friends that are in your club. Yeah. And it gives you a bit of light relief till it calms down over there, and then it gives you that kind of engagement, that social interaction, that friendship group, as well as all the mental health benefits that playing sport gives. There was a stat that was something, I believe it was 94% of C-suite women in America played sport, to a high level.
Wow.
So there's a direct link between playing sports and being successful, if you will, in other areas of your life, because you learn how to win, you learn how to lose, you learn how to play as part of a team.
It builds all those good habits,
all those really important kind of, disciplines. Getting out there in all weathers. Yeah. Dealing with being freezing cold. Yeah. So I just think it's so valuable. And whether you're good or not, it kind of doesn't matter. You're part of the team. Yeah. And that kind of camaraderie is really important.
And I think important as well, you said there about whether you're good or not. I think, as you say, it's about having the option to do it and having people feel like they can do it and not be restricted by not having the necessary tampons or pads or whatever.
Just don't want period management to be anything to do with the reason why you're there or not there.
Exactly, it shouldn't be a blocker. Absolutely. Anya, can you tell me a little bit more about Riley outside of the products?
When we started our business, we always said that fighting period poverty was going to be a huge part of it, and we have done that since our very first order. And we've been so grateful that we've been able to expand that as we continue to grow as well and continue to partner with different companies. We started off by partnering with a Irish registered charity called Development Pamoja, which is based in Kenya. And there we have sponsored a doctor-led menstruation program to educate the young girls and actually the young boys as well on menstrual health. And we also donate product to Development Pamoja as well. 65% of girls in Kenya miss out on their education. They won't go to school because they don't want to mess their uniforms, because they don't have the products that they need. So every month, on average 5 days, they're missing out on their education. as you can imagine, it has a huge knock-on effect for the rest of their lives. So that was something that was really important to us, is getting product there and educating them as well on female health and menstrual health. As we were able to get bigger, we were able to continue to fight period poverty on the ground in Ireland and in the UK as well. So we partnered with Positive Period Ireland in Ireland and Bloody Good Period here in the UK to be able to donate product to domestic abuse shelters, to homeless shelters, to be able to really fight period poverty on the ground. And I'm delighted to say that we've donated over 100,000 products. We've raised over 57,000 euro, and we have educated over 7,000 Kenyan students as well.
Wow.
So it's something that's really, really important to us.
So that's an incredible impact that you've had, not just sort of in local communities across the UK and Ireland, but also globally now as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's incredibly impressive.
And especially because we started in Ireland, we grew from Ireland into the UK. It's the reason why I moved here to London. I know we're not here in London. It's the reason I moved to London. What we found out today is it's quite far away from London. But yeah, so it's the reason why I moved here to London, and we are all across the EU as well. So as we are able to continue to grow our business, we're going to be able to continue to fight period poverty across Europe too. So it's something that we will continue to do because it's incredibly important to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as we've discussed so far today as well, you know, the whole taboo around periods and around menstruation is not just a local issue to the UK or to Ireland. It is a global problem.
Yeah.
And it's something that we should all strive to, in every country, you know, strive to have those open and honest conversations and bring it to the forefront for sure.
It gets complicated because culturally there are so many different ways that periods are, you know, treated, and most of them are very negative. And it's going to be an incredibly difficult task to eradicate across cultures globally that negativity. But you can start with what you can change and what you can influence and what you can achieve. And I think that, you know, actually that there is a group of largely, but not exclusively, female founders in this whole space. And I'd like to feel that collectively we are moving the dial by forcing these conversations and forcing companies to address and learn and deal with menstruation differently in their working environments, for example, and encouraging them to sponsor maybe, you know, period poverty challenges. And I feel like, yeah, collectively we're coming together to tell the world in different ways. You know, you're out there in Kenya, you know, making an impact in an environment there. And the ripple effect, I feel like the ripple effect is really powerful. So I'd like to think that we are moving dials, although it will be slower in some cultures than others.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course it comes down to the individual as well. So myself or you guys as well to keep being an advocate for this and to keep having these open conversations, make people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
That's really great. Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us today, guys. It's been really great to talk to you about menstrual health and the impact on society and how we can help do better and move the conversation along when it comes to periods and menstrual health.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for watching. For any additional support or information, please check out why.lyreco.com. Thanks again. So that was really good.